Advice for New Writers, Part 2. This continues on from my previous video on this topic. If you haven't seen it, you'll find a link in the description of this video. The opinions expressed in this video are my own, and you may disagree with some of them. Please keep all comments civil and constructive. Let's jump straight in. You'll want to develop your own voice as a writer. And no, that doesn't mean you need to take singing lessons. Your voice is basically your own style, the way you structure your story, chapters, paragraphs, and even sentences. It's about the phrases you use, and the little quirks and twists that make your writing your own. It'll be visible in your characters, in their dialogue, in the vibe or tone of the particular story that you're telling. These unique elements can be as subtle or as weird or as exaggerated or stock standard as you like. Anything goes, really. Be aware, however, that your unique tastes may not resonate with some readers, agents, and or publishers. Sometimes one can go a bit too far out of the box and end up sabotaging your own success. So my general recommendation, particularly for new writers, is to consider a subtle approach to this part of your writing. Don't necessarily go in guns blazing with the next House of Leaves or the Cormac McCarthy level of unique weirdness. Perhaps think about different ways you can write your story and still keep it unique while also being accessible to the general reader. Or not. Hey, you might be a pioneer and start a whole new trend. Think about it carefully and edit it well, no matter what. Perhaps having all the dialogue typed upside down is precisely what your readers want. The next tip for new writers is perseverance. You will likely be discouraged. Some friends may say you are wasting your time. Family might just not care about all your writing. You may find yourself with your finger poised over the Move to Trash menu button, with 60,000 words about to vanish forever. You might stop writing for an entire year. All of that is just fine. Life happens. People can sometimes say unkind things or be apathetic. You can have moments of serious self-doubt. I do encourage you not to press delete on your files, or at least to back them up somewhere. I personally deleted a Word file when I was 3 or 4 chapters into my first novel. I found myself rewriting it all a few weeks later. Now I have 5 books published, with more on the way. Thankfully, I did not delete more. Almost anything you write will be pretty bad in the first draft. That is the whole point of editing. We are human and we make mistakes. That is not a bad thing. Sometimes we make happy mistakes and our story is suddenly the better for it. Other times, our mistakes just suck. So be it. We can delete it in the editing stage. But almost every bit of writing we do helps us grow in some way, learn how to improve, or show us what doesn't work. Pretty much all of it is valuable to some degree. So make a backup of anything you want to delete. You can always delete it later. Word documents take up very little space, so you really have nothing to lose. So we've mentioned voice and perseverance. The next piece of advice is one you'll hear repeated often, but I want to explain it a bit. Write what you know. Now this advice is everywhere, and for many years it confounded me. I wanted to write fantasy. Who knows fantasy? I wanted to show magic and monsters and anti-heroes and swords and sorcery. I don't really know any of that. However, as I wrote, I discovered that I was including what I knew into the story. The genre or subgenre you pick are just the trappings of the story. Even the overarching plot and character arcs are only vehicles for what you know. I knew sorrow and despair and the struggle of being a bit of an underdog. I grew up surrounded by anger and pain, but I also knew about hope and goodness and growth. I knew about overcoming everything the world throws at you. I knew defiance and bitterness and the turmoil of emotions. And so Raziel, in my first trilogy, The Aria of Steel, confronts all of these things and more. Alicia, who is Raziel's companion, sees all of them from a different perspective. Carl and Valeran, the two side characters, bring in their own stories, all based on what I knew. So sometimes what you know is not so much about the exterior tale being told, but the more intimate, personal, more subtle themes and plot points of the story. We all grow up and see the world via different lenses, with various unique elements. Draw on that. Write about your own viewpoints, challenge those viewpoints, and seek out new ones. This is a tough bit of advice, particularly if you perhaps believe your life has been largely uneventful or boring or ordinary. But we all experience events and people in our own way, and there may be something new there to draw upon for your story which no one else has experienced. Until next time, keep writing, read books, be kind, and live generously.